Hello, my name is Tiffany Giannicchi, and I taught elementary education for 11 years. I started off as a third grade teacher, and then I was a third and fourth grade looping teacher where I had the same grade 2 years in a row. And I was charged with preparing kids for New York State assessments for both third and fourth grade, keeping the kids 2 years when the fourth grade assessment was only in fourth grade at the time. And then I went and did a little middle school special education and a little high school special education. And I decided at one point when I was on a maternity leave, I'm bored. I need a bigger challenge. I need to help an entire school. How can I go beyond the classroom? So I decided to go back for my administrative degree. And I started off as a curriculum coordinator through Cat Allegheny BOCES. I did a curriculum coordinator position where I was a split. I was in a district for 3 days a week at Randolph Central School, and then I was like traveling roadshow. I was on the road doing PD in 22 districts in Cat Allegheny. And from there, I thought, this is good, but I want my own gig. So you did a lot of time preparing, planning, presenting, just a lot of the behind the scenes curriculum design, but I never really got it to see it roll out to kids. It was always a disconnect. So I would do all this planning and then it would just shut off. So I decided that I wanted to see it be implemented in classrooms and see how kids enjoyed the work I was doing. And that's what led me to the elementary principalship, which is everything. You're with kids. I'm still in a classroom, just one really large classroom. I'm still a designer of curriculum. I can still implement it. I can still be that mentor and coach to teachers, and I can still work with kids in the classroom. And here I am today. I am in Pioneer Central School as a pre-K4 elementary principal, and this is my 5th year. So Delavan Elementary is one of 2 elementaries in Pioneer Central School. We have a very high poverty rate. Right now, at Delavan Elementary, we service roughly 500 kids, some years shortly under 500, about 75 staff members, and our poverty rate right now is at 72% poverty. So the demographics are obviously economically challenged, but the good part about it is our students that come from poverty perform well. So we do not have that gap when it comes to school improvement. They haven't always performed well. We have increasingly performed well because what has happened here is since I've been here, we've made that shift of the 8 hours they're with us, the 7 to 8 hours with us will always be an enriching, meaningful experience for them. Everything is parallel to the test. Everything's integrated. And students, when they come here, have opportunities and experiences to broaden their background knowledge and the experiences they aren't getting through their families. Yes, I did make some changes, but a lot of the things were sacred when I first started, and I just built on those traditions from where they were rather than starting from the ground up. So some of the traditions that we had were, the family, and I was grateful for this, the family liked coming into the building and they enjoyed family engagement. So that I just built off of. They like coming here and they want to be here. So how do we offer more experiences to get the family in? And we started there, actually. That's actually where I started I started with the families and family engagement as my first priority. Yes, actually, when I first started, I did my entry plan. The entry plan was set up as, obviously things that were sacred. You met with all stakeholder groups, teachers, community members, parents, other administration, and I took a step back, and for my first year, I was an active listener. And I'm grateful that I did that because I would have to say that probably my first almost 2 years, I was an active listener. I was more of an observer. I let other people do the talking. I absorbed it, assessed it. And then my second year is really when I started and took off from the ground running with things that I felt I started to prioritize basically what I felt would help a school culture and a school climate. And from there, then I branched off onto the school improvement because without the positive climate, you're not going to get people to work for you.
How does a principal decide what initiatives to invest in?
Okay. So that, I think, depends on what level principal you are. At the elementary level, it's a win-win for everyone if you always start with reading, because especially in a pre-K4 building, best practices in reading, help you out in every single area you can think of, whether it's math, science, social studies, character ed. So when you look at the elementary level reading, you want to, and that's actually where I started. I started with our reading is good, but how do we make it great? And I started with primary versus intermediate. They're learning how to read and reading how to learn. And but if you get into the middle and high school levels, then you're looking at content because you're in Regents exams now in specific departments. So at the elementary level, I started with reading.
What data in particular did you want to look at when you were putting together your entry plan?
Okay. So a lot of my entry plan consisted of gauging the school culture, where they were, how was the staff morale. I also wanted to see, we did have a lot of initiatives here. So where I wanted to see what initiatives people couldn't let go of because they really needed them to their daily operations, and which ones that they just did because it was an order and compliance. The entry plan mostly consisted of what was taking place, what they wanted to change, what they wanted to stay no matter what, hands down. I got into traditions that have been here for years and years and years that I knew would have to stay. What's sacred to you? What do you need to stay in the building? And what do you need? What do you need to make you the best teacher you could possibly be?
Did you go through a systematic routine to ask those questions of each and every faculty member in particular?
Yes, I did. In conjunction with my secretary, we scheduled different groups. So I met with every single person individually, and then I gave them the opportunity to meet as a grade level team. Because coming individually, you have different perspectives and more personal needs. And then coming as a team, that's where you really get in and start talking more about curriculum and instruction. So I wanted to learn about the strengths and weaknesses of people as individually, build that relationship, what they need personally to thrive here, and then what does the team need to thrive as a grade level team. So yes, and I met with all stakeholder groups, custodians, anyone that worked in this building I met with. The student data at the assessment level is good because you can obviously see where your weaknesses are in as far as student performance. But what I did with that data was I started taking it down a notch to see, well, where are we not at the summit of assessment? Where are we at that 10-week data? Every 10 weeks, what are we doing? So what I did was I used that data on my own for the first year. I met with grade levels. They were very informative. I let them do the speaking. I took the notes and I tried to match it to the data. I really didn't get into the nitty gritty with data until my second year. And that's when I started forming data meetings every 10 weeks. And we started they were less threatening. We started actually with grade level data meetings first, and then started bringing in some of that summative assessment, New York State data into those meetings. Because it's a one-shot deal on that. That's one assessment on one day, and I wanted them to cultivate that this is how we think. We think with data all year round. So what's assessment data? What's New York State assessment data? It's just another day of data because this is what we do all year. Okay, so when you build capacity, what you're doing is you're building a staff and a student body that all works together and basically pulls off the job together. So I'm at the point now where I've built capacity that if I leave this building, everything still runs the same. Everything, instruction, curriculum, data meetings, you're building the capacity to make the building run as if you weren't here. So one of the major elements of that capacity that if this is in place, everything else will just fall. If this is strong, everything else will fall into place, and that's building relationships. So where I started the most was how can we celebrate the stuff we do? Any type of success. I think that kind of went by the wayside. People need to feel valued. They need to feel that their work is appreciated. They need to feel that you trust their professional judgment. And it takes a long time to build a relationship. So when I started, the first thing I put in place was staff shout-outs and Fiesta Fridays. And Fiesta Fridays are when you have those long stretches of time, we will celebrate every Friday with something, and we will come with success. So I guess putting things into place that help people feel empowered, and help people to feel like they're leaders. I guess instilling that helping culture. Like I want people to say, "How can I help you?" And I'm at that point now where I naturally hear people say, "Oh, do you need something? How can I help you?" to their colleagues. Okay?
Do you find that yourself reflecting on your own professional and personal capacity to change and lead change amongst others?
Every single hour, I find myself reflecting on what I'm doing. Yes, every single hour. There's always I should say, there's never really a time that you go, "Oh, that was great. Okay, let's move on." You're always thinking of how that was good, but how can I make it better? Like, how can I bring more people on board? How can I get 70 instead of 70% of the kids having success with that? How can I have 80% of the kids having success with that? You always want to obviously raise the expectation. It's there were a few things that were surprising. Well, the unexpected, the amount of unexpected things that take place. Coming off of a curriculum coordinator position, I made my own schedule. I knew what my whole day was going to look like from start to finish. And you finished it. You didn't have any curriculum crises. You didn't have any curriculum tragedies. You made your own schedule, you accomplished your own goals, and every day you did it. You can try and have that same schedule like I did when I first started. I was going to do this and meet with this group, and I was going to pop into so many classrooms, but it's the unexpected, that the volume of unexpected was just super eye-opening, where you can go 2 and 3 days and do none of the things for 2 and 3 days. You're always playing catch-up. We're in a curriculum position, you're not playing catch-up. So let's see. I would say 60 hours this week.
What time are you starting in the morning?
So I start, because my building's unique. We're an elementary building that has a different schedule. So kids don't arrive until 9. But I start at 7. And every single night this week, I was not home before 8:45. And tonight, as a matter of fact, I have a science night. So I won't be home before 10 tonight. So I would say 50 hours this week easily.
So are you engaged right now in any specific school improvement effort? Have you targeted any new area for your focus?
Yes. My school improvement effort is always on that uninterrupted 90-minute reading block. Right now, the focus is guided reading. When kids are reading with the teacher, are they just along for the motions, or are they really receiving explicit instruction when they're with the teacher? So that really is my focus this year,
And
is the 90-minute reading instruction.
what was it that you looked at to convince yourself that you needed to work on that area?
Okay. Yeah.
What informed the decision to look to work on that problem?
I went through the last 4 years of Ames Web data, and I noticed that under 50% of our students were coming out of second grade as not being fluent readers. And third and fourth grade teachers were playing catch up a lot. They had to do a lot of test prep to get kids to pass this New York State assessment, and it shouldn't be that way. By the end of second grade, students should know how to fluently read. So how to make that shift of learning how to read to now reading to learn information. It was 4 years worth of Ames Web data. The past 3 years, I've been tracking iReady data, and just the amount of time people were spending on assessing the informative assessment of kids. I noticed that months and months were taking place before a running record was done on a child. Well, how can you know to move the reading group if you're not doing a running record? So I guess looking at the best practices, or the lack of best practices that were taking place in that reading instruction. First, putting in a 90-minute reading block, creating a master schedule. There was no really master schedule. Everybody was doing whatever they wanted. There was no common planning time. There were no those important conversations amongst the team. So a lot of things needed to be put in place. First, I started with the structure, and now I'm at the meat of the structure. So putting that framework in place first, and now that that's all in place, having those conversations are a lot easier because of that team concept.
And that's where I want to go next, the team concept. I know you work very well and collaboratively with others. What was your criteria for deciding who was going to be part of your core team working on this problem?
Okay, so basically the people that had all aspects of the child. So our school psychologist, who deals a lot with the social emotional piece, was obviously going to be on my RTI committee. The grade level teacher, the special educator, our reading specialist, and along with, depending on the grade level, the speech therapist. But the grade level teams meet in BLCs, and those are grade level responsibilities. So there are basically, I have in place 2 levels of data that goes on. I have the 10-week, very formative data. We make all this. We make all decisions based on Ames Web and iReady data. But then you have those once a week common planning times where the grade level meets and they self-assess their lessons. So more of the informal data.
And that was the next question.
I'm not sure if I answered your question, but.
One clarification.
Yes.
So you have grade level teams, and when you said the grade level teacher, can I assume you meant every teacher at that grade level?
That comes to the data meeting, yes. Every teacher at that grade level comes to the data
Okay.
meeting, and we create intervention groups based on the need of the grade level rather than the classroom.
So you've got a lot of people involved, but you've
A lot of people involved.
you've broken it up into subgroups to make it manageable.
Yes.
All right, and then you talked about when are you doing this? What decisions did you make about when you will have this this analysis performed?
Okay, so a student should really stay in an intervention at least 10 weeks. So we felt that if we meet every 10 to 12 weeks, depending on when holidays occur and everything, that we would meet every 10 to 12 weeks to discuss where there's progress monitoring charts are, where they are in guided reading, have they gone up reading levels. So basically every 10 to 10 weeks. That way, if they did need to make a switch, we know that they've been in an intervention long enough. If you meet too frequently, then you're switching intervention groups and they're not effective.
And literally, when are you getting the professionals together to do this?
Okay, so I get them half-day subs, and what I do is I plan the calendar out for the year, and one grade level goes in the morning and another grade level goes in the afternoon, and they share that half-day sub. And then the next day, one grade level goes in the morning, one grade level goes in the afternoon, they share the sub. So that's how that works.
And the critical question that authors are writing about and my students are reading about is making it from the analysis to the action planning and the implementation. Mm-hmm. How are you doing moving it from the analysis stage to making an impact in the classroom?
Okay, so every 10 weeks when they go back and they have to put it in action, when they come back, they're bringing not only the summative data like the Ames Web and iReady, they're bringing student samples and they're bringing examples of their running records, their miscue analysis, and they're trading papers with their colleagues while they're there and their assessments, so now they can start having the conversation of, well, my kids did really well on that, and yours didn't. So, what strategies did you use? So it's almost like it's just become part of the process. You do it, you bring back the student samples, and you adjust as you go along.
And does this also inform your observations? Do you incorporate this into your classroom observations, formal or informal?
Yes. So when we do the 2 classroom observations, we have the 2 formal observations, the post observations, the most important part, because these are all the things we're looking for while we're in there, all the conversations that take place in these data meetings. You're hoping they're really rolling over in the classroom. But then there's learning walks in between there. So if I know I just had a data meeting on, and we talked a lot about guided reading and echo reading, or some strategies we talked about, whisper reading, and you got the head nods and they say yeah. Now when I go do our learning walk, it's going to be strategically during guided reading, so I can see that those practices are in place during that 90-minute reading block. So you're doing a learning walk for 10 minutes, but you're being very strategic about your learning walk because you're looking for the pieces for implementation.
Yep. And let's close with this question, Tiffany. What's on the horizon for you? A good principal always has the next challenge around the bend. What's on the horizon for you as you lead your staff through an improvement effort?
All right. Well, we still have a lot of work to do. So on the horizon is right here at Delavan Elementary, going to that next level of mastery. We're at that good spot where we get our subgroups to perform. But now how do we get to that level of mastery? So the only way you get there is by differentiating by ability. So that is actually the next shift. The next shift is the structures are in place, the best practices are in place. Now, how do you have those 3 levels for students that of different ability levels? It's a lot of planning and preparation, but we'll get there.
And now that you're a veteran, what's your advice to graduate students looking to be principals?
Now that I'm a veteran, I noted down a couple things. Your first year, you're going to be super excited to make all these changes. Don't. Don't make any. Sit back and get to know people. I mean, really, like, those informal conversations go a long way. You get to know their family. You get to know basically their life. Like, what do they do when they're not with you? So that way, when they come to you, you can kind of meet their needs. The other thing too is, because the relationships are so huge, I don't know how to not keep repeating it. If you want to move teachers, don't do it after your second year. I would at least wait maybe 3 or 4 years. I moved teachers around my second year, and I wanted to do it my first year. And of course, I thought twice about that. It's not enough time. When you move teachers, you want to move them according to their strengths and where they're going to best fit with kids. And I think that after doing it my second year, I needed more time to figure that out. Because now I've moved some people and I want to move them in a different place, and that's not good either. So if I just took a little bit more time, I really could have made some good configurations, but I rushed it. The other thing too is plan your time wisely. Don't take things personal. Really have to celebrate success. I mean, we do good things here because we're just happy to be here. So you want people to be happy to hear. So that's what I have to offer. Build relationships and celebrate all the success you possibly can.
Go ahead.
So at any time, please feel free to contact me at 716-492-9463, Delavan Elementary at Pioneer Central School. My email is tgiannicchi@pioneercsd.org. Please feel free to call because I love what I do, and I know you're going to love what you do too. So, thank you.